Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be about the man, the myth, Kanye West. I was kind of scared to do this video, to make a video about Kanye. I've had strong feelings about everything that's been happening with him for a while, but I didn't want to make a video for a while because I was honestly genuinely scared because I don't think that many people will agree with me. But I decided that I might as well just talk about it. I've made videos on this channel before where a lot of people disagreed with me. I mean, you can literally look at the dislikes. But at the end of the day, it's my opinion. It's not a fact. And if you disagree with me, it is what it is. You know, it's just an opinion. It's just my viewpoint on things. And it's not fact. It's not dogma. It's not anything like that. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about Kanye West. But before I do get into this video, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And please turn on the post notifications so that you are notified of the next time that I post a video. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the video. Now, just as a disclaimer, this video is not necessarily going to be about everything that he's tweeted, but more so just everything surrounding him. I actually am dividing this video up into kind of 4 different parts of Kanye, and really just talking about the different parts of him that we've been seeing change, and just kind of, I'm going to be referencing situations that have happened, especially the recent situation where he kind of went on that Twitter rant and, you know, his presidential campaign and everything like that. But I won't be going into detail and, you know, giving you every single receipt. So I think that if you don't really have context to what I'm talking about, you should maybe watch another video. I'll try to find a video and link it down below for you to watch before you watch this one, just so that you have context. But this video is going to just encompass really everything about him rather than certain situations, even though this video was triggered by the recent situations that have happened with him, obviously. But if you need context, I would suggest that you watch another video that really breaks down what's been happening with him lately. So first, I'm going to talk about Kanye, the presidential candidate. A lot of people have very strong feelings about Kanye running for president, for many reasons that I'll address. But the first thing that I just want to ask is, why are people even entertaining this? You know, when people don't want someone to be relevant, they talk about it way too much. And I know that on my channel, I talk about things a lot, but mostly it's so that I can present the information that has made me think a certain way about someone. For example, Shane Dawson. Like, I made a video so that I could present to you, this is why I can't stand this man. This is why I think he's evil. And then that be the end of it. I don't go and then tweet about Shane Dawson every single day, all the time, 24/7. I don't go in his comment section and tell, like, if I think that he's a despicable, disgusting person, I genuinely don't even want to see his face. And it bothers me every time I see his face on my timeline. The only reason why I even make videos about him is so that other people can see what I see. However, with Kanye, it's just, I don't understand why people are entertaining the idea that he's running for president. Do you know how many people are running for president right now that you probably don't know of? And I know that Kanye has a much bigger platform than those people, but there are still a lot of people that are running for president. I mean, didn't Tiger King run for president at one point? Seriously. So, like, why are you so hurt and upset? Like, if you don't like the fact that he's running for president, like a lot of other people do, then just don't vote for him. Just don't vote. Just don't vote for him and advocate for the person that you want to be president. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't like the idea, you know, in American politics where it's constantly bashing that candidate instead of making your candidate look better. Maybe that's because the candidates this year are trash, but just in general, it's just like, why are you so focused on bashing one candidate rather than raising up the person that you like so much? And I don't understand why people are so upset at Kanye. You know, running for president, but they're not upset at Joe Biden, who has literally said the N-word in a speech, has had numerous sexual assault allegations against him, has called black people not black if they don't vote for him, etc., etc., etc. The list goes on and on. I don't understand why people are so angry at a black man who, to my knowledge, doesn't have any of that on his record. I mean, Kanye has done some crazy stuff, but at least he hasn't literally had numerous sexual assault allegations come up against him. But that'll probably start soon at some point, given how people have started to become in social media these days. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, please look up what happened with Justin Bieber. But that's neither here nor there. I don't understand why people are so upset at this black man running for president, but they're not as upset. I mean, they're not upset at the racist white men that have been running for president for years. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're so mad at this person who's running for president, but you're okay with people who have literally had slaves like George Washington. Like, you'll talk better about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson than you will about Kanye West. What does that say about you? What does that say about where your priorities lie? What does that say about how you think? Because in my opinion, he's way less harmful than a lot of the presidents that we've had thus far. Is he qualified? No. Have a lot of the presidents been qualified? That's debatable. Is the president currently qualified? I don't think so. Is Joe Biden that qualified? Considering the fact that I think he's racist? No. So, I mean, none of them are qualified. And honestly, I don't think that the president even runs the country in the first place. So what does it matter? I don't know. I'm just sitting here. Maybe I'm a little pessimistic, but I don't think that even if Joe Biden wins the presidency, that he's going to do anything better than what's been happening so far. It's not like Obama really did anything better for black people, if you really think about it. So I don't understand people's logic when it comes to being so mad at Kanye for just trying to get his name on the ballot. Like, why not? Why not? And like I said, I'm not even taking his presidential campaign seriously. I never have. I mean, let's just be honest here. We all know that Kanye has outbursts. He has spurts of he does crazy stuff. We know this about him. So why are we taking this seriously? But even if people do take this seriously, why do you care so much about dictating how people vote? I know that obviously, like, there are certain things that are going to affect people in this country, but you don't think that other people have reasons for why they vote for people as well? It just seems like everyone is very self-centered when it comes to politics these days. It seems like everyone is like, well, you need to look at my struggle. You need to look at why I need you to vote for this person. But you don't ever want to listen to why the other person wants you to vote for their candidate. You don't ever want to look at why that person has their reasons, whether good or bad. There's no even listening on either side, on the left side or the right side. It's just like there's no listening. And at the end of the day, it is the American voters' right to vote for whoever the heck they want to. And if someone decides that they want to vote for Kanye, they shouldn't have to be bullied relentlessly on the internet for it. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in trying to punk people into doing what you want them to do. I don't like that. I think that's intimidation. It's just not how I roll. It's not how I think. It's one thing if, let's say, someone votes for Trump and you don't know, they could vote for Trump because Trump has a special policy for small businesses and they have a small business, or because they're conservative and they always vote conservative for whatever reason. Whether you like it or not, that's their reason. It doesn't necessarily mean that they hate you or that they're racist. You have to understand why people vote for who they vote for, because they could look at you and think that you're a disgusting person for voting liberally. I'm sorry, but it's just no one wants to listen to people's reasoning for anything. And people don't really owe anyone a reason. So I don't like the idea of people trying to bash others for even considering voting for Kanye. I mean, let's think about it. You're picking between two racist white men. At least Kanye, he's not racist. It doesn't seem like he's racist necessarily. He's black. He doesn't have a bunch of sexual assault allegations against him, as far as I know. Please correct me if he does in the comment section down below. But as far as I know, he doesn't really have any that are. So I don't understand why people are so upset if someone does vote for him. Now, I do know that as far as the Democratic viewpoint is that, well, he's going to split the Democratic vote. But isn't that what people wanted to do with Bernie a few months ago? People, when Bernie dropped out of the presidential race, people were like, well, we can still write his name in, right? So what you're trying to do is split the vote. That's what people were trying to do. And that was acceptable. But when you want to vote for Kanye and write his name in, suddenly it's not acceptable. Stop being hypocritical. Okay. Now, like I said, I would never vote for him. I don't think that he's being serious, and I don't think that he's qualified. But at the end of the day, if someone else does, for whatever reason, if someone else decides, man, between two racist white men or this black man who raps, I'm going to pick the black man who raps, more power to him. I really don't care. Okay. But like I said, I've never taken him seriously. So take from that what you will. But that's just my opinion about his whole presidential campaign fiasco thing. Next, we're going to focus on Kanye the Husband. Now, if you've been following everything that's been happening recently, Kanye really went off on Kim and on her family, went off on Kris Jenner, literally called her Kris Jong-un, which was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. That was funny. He said Kylie sucks. That was kind of funny to me, even though I like Kylie. That it's just, the whole thing was funny. And I'll get into why I think it was funny later and just my whole opinion on his kind of breakdown. But Kanye and Kim have always seemed to have a strong front, especially when Kanye does these things. It seems like Kim is always trying to just make sure that he's brought back down to earth and that he's stable again. And it also seems like she's kind of used to, I mean, if he's doing this publicly, what do you think he's doing at home? Now, is Kim a saint? No. They probably have issues with each other. That's what marriage is. So I'm not going to place all the blame on Kanye. However, what I will say is that I think that Kim is handling everything super well. And people need to give her credit for the fact that she is handling everything as well as she possibly can. And she always has. When things like this have happened with Kanye in the past, she has continuously stood by him, but also recognized why people are so like freaked out by what's going on with him. And she's just always been by his side. And I respect that. I really respect that. I always respect people who are willing to do what they have to do to make a marriage work. And I believe that she is trying to do what she has to do to make a marriage work. And I think that it was so wrong of him to try to say that, you know, he tried to divorce Kim, and just to bring it to the internet. His personal marriage struggles to the internet is just classless and wrong. And I think that it was very disrespectful to Kim and to Kanye. You know, he wants to be a president so badly. He has this ministry, you know, that he's been running for a while, these Sunday services. It seems like he's really trying to be a leader in a lot of ways. And what I will say is that leadership starts at home. How are you going to be a good president or a good pastor of whatever this ministry kind of is if you can't even treat your wife with proper respect? Okay, leadership is, you lead by example. So if you have these types of outbursts where suddenly you're disrespecting your wife just in public like that, How do you think that that's going to be taken by people who do genuinely follow you? I know people who are huge fans of Kanye, who love him, who literally worship the ground that he walks on. What makes Kanye think that he's setting a good example? Leadership starts at home. If you're going to be a good president, you should first be a good husband. You should first be a good father. You should first take care of the responsibilities that you have that are just that one person that you're married to, rather than the hundreds of millions of people in the United States. So if he is serious about this presidential campaign, then he needs to understand that he should respect his wife, at least in public, that he should at least put on a good front, but even in private, that he should be able to be a man and to be a good husband. And here's a statement that Kim put out. You can go ahead and pause this video to read the statement. But again, I do love how she's been handling the situation with such grace and class. And it seems like she's just trying her best to be as good of a wife as possible and to make it work. And I have to give kudos to her, and I have to applaud her for being able to deal with this, to deal with what's going on, and to not act out of anger or impulse, but rather to try to fix the situation privately and to just give a kind of blanket general statement publicly. Now, what I will say is that Kanye apologizing to her publicly was the right move. If you bring issues publicly, you have to apologize publicly, even if you've apologized privately. That's what I've always believed with influencers, and that's just, I think, a general rule of thumb with social media nowadays, is that, if you do have public beef, you should settle it privately and then come back and publicly apologize and make it known that how you spoke about that person was probably not accurate, or whatever the case may be. And I do think that a sign of a decent person, in my opinion, is their ability to apologize. Now, is he really sorry? Was this a PR move? I think that he is sorry just because he was so unapologetic with what he said before. So I don't think that he would have any real issue with doubling down on what he said, because he really did not care. He just said whatever he wanted to say. So I do believe that it's genuine, but instead of apologizing later, don't do it in the first place. So again, he needs to learn to respect his wife and to give her at least, he's now a born again Christian, and there are a lot of scriptures in the Bible talking about how men should love their wives as they love their own bodies. And so he should show that type of love to his wife publicly. Especially, again, because she has stuck by his side for so long. So that's just how I feel about that. And hopefully that they can work it out for the sake of each other. I do think that they do love each other. And for the sake of their children, I really hope that they work it out. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Kanye and fatherhood. And before I do get into this part, I do just want to acknowledge, of course, that this is a very sensitive subject. I was going to say topic and subject at the same time, but it's a very sensitive thing to talk about, is someone's parenting. And I would never, actually I would. There are certain parents that do need to be dragged for filth. There are a lot of parents that do need to be dragged for filth. But I don't think that Kanye is one of those parents. The only reason why I really wanted to talk about this is because he did talk about how at one point he was considering trying to abort Northwest, his oldest daughter. So I did want to talk about, his parenting. And I do believe that Kanye wants the best for his children, but Kanye needs to consider how his outbursts affect them. He is not just a normal man. Even a normal man, when you have outbursts like that, your kids are going to be affected. But his kids I don't think we'll ever be able to truly heal because it was done so publicly. And when they do heal, someone else will bring it up. Someone else at school will bring it up. Someone in their life will bring it up all the time. And people know things so intimately about your family struggles and about your parents. And it must be so difficult for kids who love their parents and want to defend and protect their parents to constantly hear other people bash their parents for things that their parents did. So I think that he really needs to consider how his outbursts affect these kids. Money and materialistic things do not outweigh the value of having a healthy father in their life. You know, Kanye came from a poor background, came from I don't know what part of Chicago, but he came from a bad part of Chicago and made his money and did what he had to do and, you know, became extremely wealthy. And he might think, well, I'm providing, I'm being a provider, but that's not the only way that you need to provide. If you have millions of dollars, but you're going crazy on social media to the point where your kids are now being affected, to the point where you're saying things about how you were considering aborting your first child, you're not really providing what they need, which is stability in the home life. It's not stability in the materialistic things, in the money, and, you know, the living situation, but more so stability in knowing that dad is okay, that mom is okay, and that even though they're human, they're okay and they love me. But when you have outbursts like this, that's not really what you're communicating to your young children who are going to grow up and be bombarded with memories and with people telling them, you know, that their parents did this and their parents did that, and all of the crazy things that their parents do, all of the outbursts that their father had. They need stability. And instead of outbursts, they need stability. That's just how I personally feel. And again, you know, talking about North almost being aborted was completely and utterly the wrong move. Like, that is parenting 101 in my personal opinion. Mind you, I don't have any kids, but as a child, I think everyone knows a little bit about parenting because they've been a child. And, you know, I would have hated the idea that my parents at one point considered if I should exist or not. Like, I don't know if I could process that. I don't know if I could process the fact that my parents at one point didn't want me to be who I am. They didn't want me to exist at all. Like, you know, my whole life, it just would have been nothing. Like, you think about that and then you go into thinking, well, my parents must not love me, or how much do you really love someone that you wanted to abort? That's what North is going to think. That's what's going to happen. And so that was just the wrong move to talk about that publicly. And even like, you just don't talk about certain things. You don't tell people certain things. Now she's going to be insecure about your love for her. And even though I do truly believe that Kanye loves her, because he was talking about that in remorse, he still shouldn't have spoken about it publicly. Now, you know, I said earlier that maybe he shouldn't talk about it at all, but the only way that I can see him talking about it is saying that, you know, is like sitting her down when she's much older and explaining to her his thought process and how he's remorseful for that, and that how much he loves her now because she would be much older and more experienced and understand his thought process. But like, however old she is, I think she's like 6 or 7, and, you know, you're barely learning what abortion even is, and you realize that your dad didn't want you to exist, that's going to be weighing heavy on you. So I just hope that she's able to heal from that, because I do think that when it does get brought up and when she does understand what he was really saying, that there is going to have to be healing. There's going to have to be healing from that situation. But I do hope that they can work it out. And I do believe it because, you know, every family goes through things like this. A lot of families go through much worse. And there's probably other things that we haven't seen, obviously. But a lot of families go through much worse, you know, between parents and children. But hopefully they can work it out and get past this. And hopefully North can understand that her parents do love her and are so glad that they made the decision to keep her and are so glad that she's in their life. So I just hope that North knows that and understands that she's a blessing in this world rather than a curse. And lastly, we're going to talk about Kanye the man. Now, one, I know I don't know this man. I'm just an outsider looking in. But how I always think is actions speak louder than words, and someone's actions prove who they are, regardless if you've ever had a conversation with that person. I don't need to meet certain people to know if they're good or bad. I don't really need to meet Mother Teresa to think that she's a good person. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my thought process. And I think that there's a lot that we could analyze about Kanye. Now, there's probably a lot that we can't because, again, we don't know him. But there's a lot that we can. And another thing is that I know really nothing about mental health. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't have any mental health issues. I'm not really close to anyone that does have any mental health issues that I'm aware of, or anything like that. So I can't speak on his mental health, nor would I ever, even if I did know more about mental health, just because that is such a touchy subject. However, what I will say is that it's clear that he does have mental health problems. It is clear that he does struggle a lot. I think that based on everything that people have said about bipolar disorder, I do believe that he does struggle with that, especially because his outbursts, he seems very genuine with everything that he does. And even when he's in such a bad place, it seems like he's genuinely in that bad place. It's not pretending. It's not putting on airs. Could this be a publicity stunt? Sure. But I don't think that it is. I don't think that he would say all of these extremely crazy things for publicity. He doesn't need it. He's Kanye West and his wife is Kim Kardashian. So I don't believe that. But what I will say about Kanye is that when he's good, he's good. But when he's having his episodes, it's clear that he's spiraling. Like, it's clear what state he's in, depending on how he's acting. And I think that he's struggling with a lot of deeper struggles that he can't say, especially because he's a new believer. And that is a thing that I think has really shown the change in him. It seems like he's really struggling with things that he's done in his past, and he's trying to make it right by running for president or by, doing all of these crazy things that he thinks are like good for the community because he feels like he's done such bad and wants to just try to repay it and try to basically earn his salvation. There are a lot of Christian terms I might use in this part of the video just because I am a Christian and I've grown up in the church and everything like that. So I know, I'm probably going to use some Christian terms and maybe quote scripture. I'm sorry if you're not religious, but that's just what's going to happen. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But I do think that he's trying to earn his salvation, and he's just not in that place yet. I mean, when you're a new believer, you don't want to you're not Paul yet. You're still a new believer, and it takes time. And I think that he might want to rush the process, and that might be what's happening. But then again, I don't know. But what I will say is that I do believe that he's sincere about everything that he does and says. That's the one thing that I will say about Kanye is that I don't think that there's any real guile in him, in terms of, I don't think that he's doing things with ulterior motives. I think that what it is what it is. And that even if it's bad, it is bad. And if it's good, it is good, and I do believe that he is trying to get closer to God. I do believe that. And I do believe that he's trying to become a better person, and that he's just not sure how to. And that might be why these outbursts are happening. That might be why he's trying to run for president. That might be why he talked about, at one point debating if he should abort North because he's trying to do all of his testimony and salvation and everything at once, and he maybe needs to slow down and really go through the process at a slower pace. Now, what I will say is that I don't always agree with everything that Kanye West says, obviously. But what I will say is that I don't think that he's coming from a bad place when he does talk about what he's talking about. Even when he was supporting Trump, I don't necessarily think, I think there are a lot of black people that support Trump, right? There are a lot of black people who think of things that are, they might look at some of his policies and think that he's helping black people, I'm going to support him. Or they might even have some type of self-hate in their mind, because that self-hate has been taught to the black community for centuries. But I don't like how people immediately jump on him every single time he says anything, instead of trying to educate. When it comes to the black community, I am much more gracious, just because I understand why we act the way that we do, or like why certain people might think a certain way. I have much more of I let things go a lot, and I try to go the education route. I try to go to the let me explain this to you, rather than you just saying things and me just attacking you, because we do understand that there are systems in place that try to keep black people down, and that try to keep black people uneducated. So if you see a black person who's uneducated, why are you attacking them, rather than trying to listen, understand why they think the way that they think, and then try to go through it with them and deconstruct that and show them, okay, this is where you're kind of wrong here, this is what I'm thinking, and do it that way, and try to listen and understand. And here's the funny part. Right now, we're all about amplifying black voices, but the ones that are conservative, right? Except for the ones that are like Kanye, right? Amplify all the black voices except for the ones that aren't liberal, right? Except for the ones you don't like, right? Do you see the hypocrisy? Is Kanye not black? Is he not black? I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Even with Terry Crews, and even though I definitely don't agree with a lot of with what Terry Crews is saying, I mean, to attack that man and then try to invalidate what he's saying, but you want all black voices to be validated, right? Or except the ones that you like. Like I said, it's hypocrisy. Like I said, everyone's being hypocritical, in my opinion. And, I think that it's just very funny that he's not accepted in the black community because he's not liberal, or as liberal as they are. But I've seen a lot of black liberal people say things like, you have to marry within your race or you're not pro-black. So I guess love just doesn't matter at all in the equation. That you have, what I'm saying? Like, I've seen people say that, but they're the ones who are going to judge Kanye. You get what, it's all hypocrisy. So although I think that Kanye is going through a lot of mental struggles, and I do think that, I don't agree with a lot of things that he says, at the same time, why is it that we can attack him but not look at ourselves and not look at how he could attack us? So that's just food for thought. And that's really where I'm going to end this video. Those are all my thoughts. That was a lot of talking, but those are pretty much all my thoughts about Kanye West. Anyways, that is it for this video. Please enjoy this obligatory Tom Holland picture as I close out. But yeah, that was a lot of talking and a lot of rambling and ranting, but I hope you understood what I was saying. I know that this is a very touchy subject. A lot of things that I talked about were touchy subjects, and just Kanye is a very controversial figure right now. But I stand by what I said, and I understand if people disagree with me, but that's just how I personally feel. So if you did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Go ahead and comment down below what you do think of what I had to say, what you think of Kanye personally. You know, I again, like I said before, I understand if people disagree with me. But please go ahead and tell me why you disagree in your own perspective. And please do subscribe to my channel and turn on post notifications so that you're notified of the next time that I post a video. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!